Ay, ay, ay. It's just sad to, I guess, see that. It's sad to see people. It's sad to see people just clap for their own demise. That's what kills me about it. Like, so many people look at this and go, "No, this is good." They're shaking things up.
I think the company should be incredibly appreciative of the people in this room.
Go ahead, please. Yeah. Mr. President, thank you, Mr. Musk. Are there about half of the government employees so far appear to have responded to your request for what they've been doing over the past week? Is there a timeline in place for next moves for people being fired, and when can the American people expect to see results of that?
Yes. Well, to be clear, I think that email perhaps was misinterpreted as a performance review, but actually it was a pulse check review. Do you have a pulse? Do you have a pulse and two neurons? So if you have a pulse and two neurons, you can reply to an email. This is, I think not a high bar, is what I'm saying. This is, anyone could accomplish this. But what we are trying to get to the bottom of is we think there are a number of people on the government payroll who are dead, which is probably why they can't respond. And some people who are not real people, like they're literally fictional individuals that are collecting paychecks. Well, somebody's collecting paychecks.
Oh, I'm dying, dude. It's just, again, I'm gonna repeat this point, but lying is OP. Please nerf, okay? You can just straight up say whatever you want. Nobody's gonna fact check you. What are you gonna do? You gonna write an op-ed at the Washington Post? Nope, you can't do that. Jeff Bezos decided that is not allowed anymore. Okay? New York Times is too busy eating Israeli propaganda on a daily basis. Okay? Doing as much Hosmer as they possibly can. Where are you gonna go? Who is going to correct the record on this? Okay? Like, does he know he's lying, or does he believe this? I don't know. He's probably too stupid to know the truth, but it doesn't matter. Okay? Like, the notion that there are, tens of thousands of people that are working at the federal government and getting paychecks that are just simply dead is insane. If that was the case, they wouldn't have fired mass fired probationary employees. Okay? They would have immediately hired people, because that's how you're supposed to do this. For the record, just so you understand, the way you're supposed to do this, if you were to do this at all, which I'm not an advocate for like mass firing of federal government employees, but if you wanted to do that, if you wanted to figure out if there was any fraud happening, you would have to hire people, not just like a bunch of Doge dickheads, but like actually hire auditors, okay, forensic accountants, auditors that would have to go to these highly specialized fields and talk to the management to figure out and make an accurate assessment of who is actually working and who is not, okay? They're not doing any of that because the goal is to just rip it apart. You can't just like do an audit by being like, yeah, send me an email and I will have AI go through it. This is a process that is long, arduous, takes months, okay? Very complicated. It's not just something you break, because when you break the federal government, when you break the regulatory agencies, when you break the administrative state, the impact of that is far more vast than you think, okay? Having said that, however, the notion that there are tens of thousands of dead people working for the federal government and just like collecting a paycheck is ridiculous, okay? It is ridiculous. Ridiculous. It's just made up. He's just making it up, okay? It is just as made up as like saying that voter fraud happens so much, and that's why we have to do voter suppression in order to combat voter fraud, because tens of millions of undocumented migrants are going out and voting in a country where out of the eligible voter population, the majority doesn't vote, the plurality doesn't vote consistently. Like, what do you mean too many people are voting? We gotta dial it back. It's just made up. They just made it up, and they keep lying about it over and over and over again. And then sometimes those lies turn into January 6th. It's a logical extension of the lies told by average Republicans as well, for the record. Do you think they actually believe their own lies? I don't care. I don't care if they believe their own lies or not. What I care about is the dumbass Americans who eat this up and they think, no, this is great. I actually do believe it. There are fictional employees that are getting paychecks from the federal government by the tens of thousands. Like, will they be able to find one or two people? I'm sure. And you'll know. If they find one or two people, they will publicize it. Just like they do with migrant crime. Another insane concept that they came up with, claiming that undocumented migrants are responsible for hundreds of murders every year. That's what Donald Trump said. That's what Donald Trump ran on. The true number of non-citizens, both undocumented and documented, every fiscal year that do murders is 29, okay? It's 29! The idea that they're like, the idea that they're doing a large share of these like murders is so insane. It's just made up, okay? Not percent, not 1,000, 29. But they just lied about us so much, and the Democrats never actually responded to that. They never counter-messaged against it. So it doesn't even matter at this point. It might as well be the truth, right? Like, that's what we believe now. Sorry. That's just what we believe now.
Paychecks on a fictional individual. So we're just literally trying to figure out, are these people real? Are they alive? And can they write an email? Which I think is a reasonable expectation. The American public would have at least that expectation, right? Someone in the public sector.
Mr. Musk, roughly.
This is not it.
How is it 29? What? On the news, there's footage of way more than 29? No, there isn't. There literally isn't. That's why they heavily publicize any time an undocumented migrant does any crime whatsoever. But the thing is, we should have zero illegal immigrant crimes because we shouldn't have any. Brother, there are 20 million migrants, undocumented migrants from all around the world living on U.S. soil, okay? The notion that they are all of one... this guy's a One Piece logo on his profile, too. What the hell is going on? If your house is on fire and you're trying to put it out, do you focus on the candles? Or do you focus on the rest of the house? Do you focus on the guy lighting a match? Or do you focus on the rest of the house that's on fire? It makes no sense. America has a very high murder rate, okay? It does. Very high murder rate. You're hyper-focusing on one grouping of individuals that comprise of 20 million people by Trump's own numbers, okay? And they're not even unified. They're not like a monolith. Undocumented migrants come from all around the planet. They come from all different walks of life. The notion that they're all a unified hive mind is just pure idiotic racism. You got 20,000 homicides and involuntary, instances of manslaughter, and you're talking about 29 of them. You're out of your mind. Like, that is insane. That's a laughable notion. Ay, ay, ay. Yeah, one is too many is a ridiculous argument to make regardless. Like, you're arguing from a very stupid position. Like, yeah, I know, one is too many, I agree. The problem is, you can't group an entire 20 million population as though they're all responsible for the crimes of, 20 people, 30 people, let's say 1,000 people, okay? This number also includes car accidents too, yes. And this number also includes documented non-citizens as well as undocumented non-citizens. It is so crazy to me that we have approached this level of normalization for stupidity to this degree where people are just like, yeah, I don't get it. Yeah, kick them all out. It doesn't make sense. It's like saying we should arrest and we should just immediately arrest every white man, okay? Because white men are overrepresented in the child sexual assault cases, okay? White men are overrepresented in pedophilia cases, okay? So we should just automatically arrest all white men. That's crazy. That's a crazy thing to advocate for. Okay, stop. Guys, please, whenever I say this, everyone goes, yes, now you're cooking based. And then dumbasses see that and go, see, they're being serious. Look at Hassan's radical community, okay? Don't even fucking meme about it. Gives me black crime statistic vibes. That is what it is. It is the same thing. Ironically enough, they do that for black people too, so. Men are responsible for the overwhelming majority of crime. Men across the board. Not just white men, but men across the board. I guess we have to jail all men, okay? It's ridiculous.
It's not a high bar, guys, come on.
The employees have responded so far to this email. Does that mean that the remaining 1 million or so federal employees now risk being terminated? And is it your understanding and expectation when you post a directive on X that the cabinet secretaries will follow that order? Because several agencies have instructed employees that this is voluntary or not to respond.
Yeah, well, I mean, so I guess it was like last week, the president encouraged me via Truth Social and also via phone call to be more aggressive. And I was like, okay, you know, yes, sir, Mr. President, we will indeed do that. The president is the commander-in-chief. I do what the president asks. And I said, can we send out an email to everyone just saying what did you get done last week? And the president said yes, so it did that. You know, we got a partial response. We're going to send another email. Our goal is not to be capricious or unfair. We want to give people every opportunity to send an email. And the email could simply be, what I'm working on is too sensitive or classified to describe. Like literally just, that would be sufficient. You know, I think this is just common sense.
And what is your target number for how many workers, employees you're looking to cut total?
We wish to keep everyone who is doing a job that is essential and doing that job well. But if the job is not essential or they're not doing the job well, they obviously should not be on the public payroll.
Mr. Musk,
I'd like to add, wait. I'd like to add that those million people that haven't responded, though, Elon, they are on the bubble. You know, I wouldn't say that we're thrilled about it. You know, they haven't responded. Now, maybe they don't exist. Maybe we're paying people that don't exist. Don't forget, we just got here. This group just got here. But those people are on the bubble, as they say. You know, maybe they're going to be gone. Maybe they're not around. Maybe they have other jobs. Maybe they moved and they're not where they're supposed to be. A lot of things could have happened. I wouldn't say that Biden ran a very tight administration. They spent money like nobody's ever spent money before. Wasted money. The Green New Scam, all of the different things they spent money on. And you've seen that. You've seen that with some of the things that I read in speeches. I read them and people can't believe when I read them. 20 million here, 30 million here for, you know, a little educational course on something. Circumcision, right? Circumcision.
What?
$20 million to inform the people of such and such a country on other things and other things other than that. So, yeah, those people are, right now we're trying to find out who those people are that haven't responded. Now, there'll be some aid.
Bro, this country is run by the stupidest people. Oh my God. This country is run by absolute dumbasses and a sea of absolute dumbasses who love these absolute dumbasses and are just going, hell yeah, king. Hell yeah, king. Do the damn thing. Own those libtards. Hell yeah, brother. Oops, I lost my job. Probably because of trans people and woke. Oh man, if only there were no trans people, then I wouldn't have lost my federal government job.
Agencies like Marco has people within state that are right now doing very classified, very confidential work, and we understand that, and we've talked, and we're being a little more surgical. And Marco's doing a lot of things himself. He's and some of the secretaries, we're going to be going to them. We're going to be talking about it today. We're going to ask them to do their own doge. In other words, they'll look in their group, and I spoke with Lee Zeldin, and he thinks he's going to be cutting 65% or so of the people from environmental, and we're going to speed up the process too at the same time. You had a lot of people that weren't doing their job; they were just obstructionists, and a lot of people that didn't exist, I guess, Lee, too. You found a lot of empty spots that the people weren't there; they didn't exist. I think education is going to be one of those. You go around Washington, you see all these buildings for the Department of Education. We want to move education back to the states where it belongs. Iowa should have education. Indiana should run their own education. You're going to see education go way up. Right now, we're ranked at the very bottom of the list, but we're at the top of the list in one thing: the cost per pupil.
Cost per pupil. Yeah, we're at the bottom of the list, which is true, which is why we should not move in the direction of what those other countries are doing. Robust, expansive, public education across the board, but instead move in the direction that made our education worse to begin with, which is rampant privatization, budget cuts, charter schools that are unaccountable. Okay? Incredible stuff. We are, once again, advocating for our own demise over and over again, and people clap for this like seals, dude. It is crazy.
Spend more money per pupil than any other country in the world, and yet it's Denmark and Norway, Sweden, and I hate to say this, and
you hate to say it,
and we're going to get along very well with China, but it's a competitor. They're at the top of the list. They're among the top 10 usually, and they're a very big country, so we can't use that as an excuse.
Yeah, I wonder why. I wonder why Chinese education's at the top of the list, dude. What could it be? I wonder what it is. Why did China ban after-school tutoring? China has announced an outright ban on for-profit tutoring services for core school subjects. Xi Jinping's government also reveals strict new rules for governing how non-profit tutoring can be carried out. But why has China taken this step? While nothing is certain, the regulations are probably due to a combination of factors, according to reports from various sources. To alleviate the pressure on young people, to increase the birth rate, to protect the country's interests. It's also to ensure that everyone is getting the appropriate amount of education from public schooling. And that there isn't like anyone that can, by spending more money, anyone can. Preply isn't a credible news source. This is a thing that isn't from just Preply. Preply is just the first article that came up. Okay? Jesus Christ, chatters. And I know that they are now doing a black market for private tutoring, which I am certain that the Chinese government inevitably will crack down on as well, okay? Before you bring this up. Yeah. China doesn't want to do pay-to-win education. Also, Not only that, but even outside of private tutoring services, the Chinese education structure is still hyper-focused on having a robust public education system, okay? Obviously, Confucianism spans back thousands of years at this point in terms of like the early established understanding of a meritocratic approach. Okay, in some ways that has not changed, and I'm sure that there is a cultural argument that many people will make, but ultimately they have an underlying robust public education structure. And it's not just China. I don't like using China as an example because a lot of people immediately hit xenophobic notes on it. Okay? Look at Norway. Look at Finland. Okay? If you want to understand, look at the white nations. Okay? Look at European nations that consistently outperform the United States of America. Even if there are private education alternatives in these countries, okay, they're very rare, or the ones that do have a private-public partnership are heavily regulated. Heavily. And of course, those countries are also suffering from the same austerity and the same privatization initiatives that have taken root in the United States of America in this cancerous way many, many decades prior.
Right? Because we're a very big country too, but we were ranked last time under Biden. We were ranked 40 out of 40. To the 40 certain nations that they've done for a long time. It seems to be 40 for whatever reason. And we were ranked number 40. A year ago we were 38, and we were 39. We hit 40. And so we're last in that, and we're first in cost per pupil. So I would say that's unacceptable. Lawrence, you have something? Go ahead.
Mr. President, I know you like competition, and I know it's early, so which department are you most impressed with? And then, so this that's the person. Which department have you received the most resistance from?
Well, I think both of those questions are a little bit, well, you're a pretty controversial guy. And look, it's very early. Right now, I think I'm impressed with everybody. So far, everybody. If I wasn't in the first month, and some of them just got here, they just got approved 2 days ago, right? But I think I'm very impressed with everybody. So far, I'm very happy with all of the choices. I think that Elon has done incredibly with some groups, and some groups are much easier than others. It is true. State is a, very difficult situation. We're right now negotiating.
Mira, te cuento, básicamente necesitaría como un auto grande, como máximo 7 personas. No sé si vamos a ser 5 o 7, pero como para hacer unos viajes, viste, a los parques nacionales, parando en hotel. Viene mi familia, mi papá, buenos amigos. Entonces, bueno, yo te digo Suburban, pero puede ser cualquier camioneta así que entren entre 5 y 7 personas.
Right?
Aux Sauvages, par Christian Dior.
I got a kill from behind.
Bienvenidos a la prueba de sudor de los 100 grados. ¿Cuál de estos dos antitranspirantes podrá resistir el calor? Bien ahí.
Yeah.
Que era un rompecorazones, y digo era porque ahorita, que era un rompecorazones allá por los años 60, 70, 80. Sus películas causaron años después, ¿verdad? Esta fragancia es una fragancia que está descontinuada, una fragancia que es difícil de encontrar, una fragancia que era barata back in the day, allá en aquellos entonces, una fragancia de 1987 y una fragancia que fue nombrada por un lugar en Perú donde a Alain Delon le gustaba ir mucho a filmar películas. Creo que incluso tenía por ahí un estudio de grabación. No me lo crean mucho, vayan y chequenlo en Google. Mi fragancia del día de hoy es esta que se llama... Pues no se llama porque la caja me la pudieron conseguir uno de mis patrocinadores y pues ya era mucho pedir que estuviera la caja pues muy bien, ¿no? Así que esta caja pues no nos sirve, pero la fragancia se llama Iquitos y es de Alain Delon. Una fragancia que está pues totalmente casi llena y esta de veras es una fragancia que yo tenía ya muchas ganas de conseguir, y en 1987 cuando era famosa esta fragancia pues yo no la conocí, me hubiera enamorado seguramente de esta fragancia que es riquísima. Como cualquier fragancia ochentera, esta fragancia tiene infinidad de notas que para qué se las platico, mejor se las pongo aquí en pantalla, y tiene desde ylang ylang, vetiver, patchouli, vainilla, cítricos, muchas cosas, y la nota
Oh. Uy, sí. Ah. Ya, bueno. Che, Jimmy. Jimmy.
¿Qué?
¿Te va a gustar lo que te pregunte o te voy a preguntar, pero... ¿Quieres que vayamos al P.O. Box o a la...?
Nada, está loco. Mañana voy. ¿Y cuándo?
Mañana está libre.
¿De dónde?
Pam, pam, pam. La puta que te parió. Obama. Alex, ¿cómo estás? Hermano, bueno, gracias por atenderme igual. Mira, la mía por lo pronto en temas foto, cero, brother. Cero. Me enfoqué mucho en las clases, viste, como que plata fácil. Me enfoqué en eso más que todo porque la verdad que he ofrecido, he tenido y no he tenido chances, viste, de salir con la cámara, que nadie contrate o que diga, bueno, pagamos, ¿no? Pero bueno, agradecido también por esto. Estoy bien por el tema de las clases. Después estoy ahorrando un poco, entonces por lo menos bien. Así que bueno, queriendo ahora hacer unos cursos de dirección de director de creatividad, me invertir un poco en educación, viste, y meterme en algo más grande. Ya me parece que cada vez que, no sé, cada vez, viste, agarro la cámara o cada vez que lo veo a la cámara digo, está siendo más un hobby. Ni siquiera tengo redes sociales. Como que la gente, viste, por ahí me dice, che, mira, filmame esto, y no siento la misma pasión que antes, viste, como que la motivación, viste, de decir, fin de cuentas, no sé, un problema, un problema mío también de no ofrecer bien este servicio, no sentirme tan prendido fuego como antes, la verdad. Sí, la verdad, con el tema de crear, de ideas, siempre, viste. Pero el momento de ejecutarlas, producirlas, chao.
Si parece tan implacable como muchos esperarían, el juego implicará la supervivencia.
What? It's like, here, I call you a pedophile, right? No evidence whatsoever is presented in the process. I just simply say, you're a pedophile. Okay, is it up to you now to disprove it? Are you going to be able to show me an assessment of all of the moments in your throughout your day where you haven't engaged in pedophilia? Do you understand how this works? Do you understand? I'm not saying you're a pedophile, but I'm simply using that as an example. How would you disprove that? If I were to make this claim, how would you disprove that? But can you prove you're not? No, you can't. If I'm making a factless, baseless accusation, okay, then what are you supposed to point to undermine the argument that I'm making? You literally, it is impossible for you to disprove this argument because there is no argument. It's just a claim that I'm making. That's it. At least there was a point in time where these guys would have the decency. These guys would have the decency to like bring false statements and false assertions alongside their claims. Now they don't even do that. And because there is no audience that goes, hey, is there any evidence for this claim that you just brought forth? Because there's no audience demanding that, it doesn't matter.
Military aid. In fact, the Obama administration provided things like counter-mortar radars, armored Humvees, tactical drones, so it was not simply pillows and sheets. And I'll give you one more. He said that, the million people who didn't respond to this email, this 5 things.
I mean, things that are unfalsifiable seem to be effective on normies, so it's a good strategy. Okay, but you're basically just going back to the same thing that I mentioned, which is lying is OP. Yes, normies now totally love people lying. Okay? It's OP. It's super, super overpowered. Super overpowered. Especially because there's no collective truth. Like, there is no collective understanding or even interest in a objective truth or trying to figure out what the objective truth is. None of that. It does not exist. People are infinitely more comfortable existing in the echo chambers that they've created online than to actually seek out additional context, see if there's any nuance whatsoever to the claims being made. And it exists even in like online drama. It exists in like the stupidest ways possible, but it certainly exists in the highest stage of office. It exists now within the administrative state. It exists now within the executive office.
Did last week email from Elon Musk's team may not exist. I guess it's possible the U.S. government is paying some people who don't exist, but I think it's important to note that we had numerous agency heads, department heads telling their employees not to respond. So the simpler explanation is that people were instructed not to do this rather than them being, fictional, non-existent human beings.
Yeah, that was one of the things I was going to ask you about. That is definitely something that when all is said and done, we're going to want the receipts on. The suggestions that the people who have not responded maybe don't exist, as you said. There was one other doozy, which was the allegation that there were Social Security checks going to people who are 150 years old. Those people got older during the cabinet meeting today. Apparently they're 200 years old. So there is that. Daniel, thank you so much for that.
Brian, I want to talk to you about the made-for-TV moment of all of this. Obviously, that is Donald Trump's MO. He knows how to orchestrate a moment that can be broadcast well, and he wants to make it watchable. This is typically a cabinet meeting like this. They go in, they do what's called a spray. You kind of just take some video. Maybe they shout our colleagues shout a couple questions, and that's that. This was different.
Yes, very much so. This was broadcast live, for one thing. Normally these are taped and then shown later, but I think the Trump White House knows they're going to get more attention when these events are live, and they're longer as well. This is in line with Trump knowing that he doesn't just have to be president, he has to perform the presidency and have the appearance of action, the appearance of doing something at all times. It's also striking to me how he's trying to rewrite the dictionary again. You know, he did this with the word hoax, for example, years ago, trying to redefine the word hoax to mean a true story that he doesn't like. Well, the new word that's being targeted is the word fraud. When they talk about waste, fraud, and abuse, he's trying to redefine fraud as spending he doesn't like, right? Spending that he and Musk don't agree with or don't approve of, and that's the kind of spending they're targeting. It's not fraud in the criminal definition of the term, but it's spending they don't like. And it's interesting how both Trump and Musk keep going back to those kinds of words. I was also reminded by the famous movie line, "I see dead people." It seems like Musk and Trump see dead people. They believe there are formerly alive federal employees collecting paychecks even though they're not alive anymore. And you would think there would be better ways to figure that out rather than send an email to everyone and hope they reply. But you know, this is one of those things where Trump and Musk are doing what they call common sense, even if it's actually nonsense when you think about it. That common sense approach does appeal to a lot of people out there.
Yeah. Before we get to the House Republicans passing the budget blueprint, which is also really devastating and shows exactly what their ambitions are and what they want to cut. Here is Representative Doge Caucus member Representative Maria Elvira Salazar on CNN talking about Elon Musk. And also talking about Doge.
He doesn't think about it. He doesn't have to be doing this. He's the richest guy in the world. He could be on a rocket somewhere. Where is he? He's helping us. He's helping our government.
Oh man, we should kiss the ground that Elon walks on. This parasitic billionaire whose entire wealth, his entire net worth relies exclusively on government subsidies, is actually now holding the reins of the federal government. This is certainly, even though this power play has actually increased his net worth by tens of billions of dollars, we should just assume that he's doing this out of the kindness of his heart. Why? Because I told you so. You are a real dumbass, dude. It's like putting a bank robber in charge of the fucking bank and then being like, excuse me, this bank robber made hundreds of millions of dollars robbing banks. Why would he not? He would know the best possible ways of avoiding bank robberies, okay? It's not like he's gonna rob the bank again. Now he controls the bank. Why wouldn't he? Why wouldn't he just make it legal for himself to rob the bank? That's precisely what Elon is doing. America's youth has been brainwashed on the horrors. Demands education on the horrors of communism. This freak.
Government get better and get leaner. So we do have to appreciate that. He is bringing dozens of his best minds to find all this out, to help with the algorithms, to understand where the waste, the fraud.
So is he a bank robber? It's worse. Elon Musk is a billionaire, okay? Worse than a bank robber. He is a fucking parasite. And now, this parasitic force, like RFK Jr.'s brainworm, has captured the brain of the executive office. And it's just like controlling it like a puppet.
And that he is adding all these different federal programs. So we appreciate what he's doing. I don't think that he's going to profit. He has contracts with the DOJ or DOD. He has government contracts. He doesn't need to be doing what he's doing in order to make more money that he doesn't need.
Dude, if this argument probably works on your coworkers, dude. This is such a coworker ass argument. Oh God, it's like, it is truly too stupid to even tackle. You know what I mean? Like, what do you? I think less of you if you think this is a good argument. I'm sorry. Oh, he doesn't need the money. He's a billionaire. How did he get there? How did he get there? Elon Musk has not had a singular initiative in his life that has not required tremendous amounts of government subsidies. He also has been heavily scrutinized and prosecuted by virtually every single federal regulatory agency, from OSHA all the way to the SEC. Okay, now he controls all of those government regulatory agencies. Why wouldn't he want this power? Why wouldn't he want absolute power over the American federal government? Especially when there's a dude who will let you do it. Donald Trump will let you have that power. Clearly, we're working through the process right now. Yeah, it's like putting a fox in charge of guarding the hen house. That is what's going on. It's like, you don't understand. The fox is very full. The fox has had so many of the hens. Why would they eat these hens now? Thanks. I'm resorting to like wordplay at this point. Like, stories that you tell to children.
So I think it's the other way around. We gotta be very grateful that he's wanting to do this and investing his time, energy, and money into it.
Yeah, we gotta go back to La Fontaine, dude. We gotta go back to child's stories, to children's stories. I'm tweeting the hen house thing. You're never getting a seat on the rocket with his attitude? Yeah, dude, I definitely want to be on an Elon Musk rocket.
Rise today to urge the passage of my bill, HR 5349. Because America's youth has been brainwashed by media and academia for the last 30 years to believe that communism is good. What a travesty. What a horror. Ask my parents and my community if that is true. And I'm just going to bring you some proof. Nearly 40% of Gen Z and millennials think that the Communist Manifesto, written by Karl Marx, is better, and it's more of a defense of freedom than the Declaration of Independence written by Thomas Jefferson.
Awesome. Awesome. Great. Because it's true. I'm not gonna watch this. The Vuvuzela eating rats, communism. Karl Marx killed 17 gorillion people or whatever. 1,700 gorillion, quintillion people. Ugh. Yeah. Karl Marx, the dictator. You do not understand. I bet this goes hard if you're a mentally ill 40-year-old podcaster. Yeah. Or just anyone that voted for Trump, too. Or most liberals as well. Anyway.